for not doing so. Hi, everybody. Welcome to your coaching call. Lee Honish, David Bartels, talking about distressed properties and how you can all help people who are in distress. This is our weekly coaching call. David, we have no new people, so you're safe. I think we're good. We're up to date. But give your info just to be safe.
Hello, everybody. David Bartels here, home loan advocate. So we're distressed property specialists. We do more short sales than anybody I know. And if you've got questions about any of that stuff, you can reach me at 805-413-8000, or you can email me at david@homeloanadvocates.com, david@homeloanadvocates.com.
There you go. For those of you that are new or returning for quite some time, David is basically the coaching arm of this program because he is kind and he is gentle and a wonderful soul that actually is a phenomenal coach as well. I'm the marketing madman, and Diana is clearly the mentor of the group. None of us would be here if it wasn't for Diana.
True story.
So true. We're years into this project, and the dynamics changed simply because she mentored everybody correctly. We have a question
Including
right out of
me, by the way.
There you go. She's coaching me up. I'm getting ready to do one-on-one appointments now that I've lost. For those of you who don't know, I lost my brother-in-law who did my front door appointments. I got to go out and put up tags. And that was my only function. I had a very simple function. Web stuff, create some funnels, David. I'm into my lead pages right now. I'm having a ball sitting behind the computer, drinking coffee, being keto friendly, staying out of trouble. And now I got to go meet with homeowners and put on the polo and do the dance, as they say. And she's coaching me up going, you're still not ready. This is how bad I must be. Because every time we start to talk, she's like, you can't go up there with your regular attitude of people who don't pay. That's not going to fly here.
She's telling you the truth.
Terrible. Janice, first question right out of the gate. I have a gal that called the 800 number. It is not the two names on the list. Has a notice of trustee sale for a 3/1 auction date. Do I set a time to go and meet and talk and go through with the package with her? David. Good question.
Well, okay. Sorry, I was sending a text real quick. So tell me the question again.
I got you.
You did catch me. Sorry.
It's okay.
But it was my wife. Okay, so
that's a
I
plus.
tried to tell her that she's
that's a
important.
plus. By the way, get a market update from her. I like her market updates. Makes me feel better that the market's going to melt down, hearing it from her as well. Your little Conejo Valley corner is just always holding it together, and it's disappointing to me. I want a global picture of the world melting down.
Hit me with a question.
Janice Legacy. David, I have a gal that called the 800 number. It is not the two names on title. Has a notice of trustees. It has an NOT, and I would include the S probably, for a March 1st auction date. Do I set a time to go and meet and go through with the package with her?
I would. It could be a tenant. It could be a family member. I would go. I would just take the appointment, but I would not assume that they're the owner of the house. I would ask them what their relationship to the owner is. So I'd say, it's nice to meet you, and I would just do it under, confidentiality, if you will, is that this information is for the homeowner. I appreciate you setting the appointment. Is so-and-so available to review this with me? And if they're not there, or they say they're not there, or I'm handling that, then I'd say, okay, no problem. What's your relationship to the owner? And then you use your best judgment to figure out what you're going to do.
There you go.
That's how I would do it.
I will read a question that I got off a text last night because you'll just appreciate this one because we've all encountered it, and I will give what my responses were as well just to get your feedback. This was, no, not 630, wrong person. Where are you? Marissa. Okay. So, I would like to talk to all the Bay Area managers. Okay. Okay, here it is. I just received a nasty reply from a son who is a mortgage broker of the parents whom I delivered the package to yesterday, stating how unethical your program is. Have you ever received these types of feedbacks from other agents / homeowners? That was the first question. And I responded, of course, yes, only people in real estate say that. David, what has been your experience with the negative side of the coin?
Well, we don't get too much negative side. I mean, when people say that stuff, they're really speaking from a place of ignorance.
Yeah.
And they're making a whole lot of assumptions that are based on their own fears, or they're just coming from a different place than we're coming from. So I understand. I generally disregard it. I don't give it much credence, but it doesn't happen very often. So I don't know what the basis for their comments are. They just assume that you're up to no good. So I wouldn't worry about it. Their ignorance isn't your problem. And just move on.
And just for the record, she went on to say, this guy is threatening me to call the DRE, type a bad review, drag my name through the mud with his fear of influence, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. How do I damage control? And my exact response was like yours, David. Ignore him and don't talk to him.
Yeah, I just go away.
Just go away. There is zero he can do.
They're not going to do anything. They're only going to do something if you persist. I get threats all the time, and I shouldn't say that. Not all the time, but I've gotten some threats, and my action plan was just to ignore them, and they went away. Nobody really wants to. You know how much time and effort it takes to do all that stuff. Nobody. And for what? So I just find, as long as you don't double down and get in their face and really tick them off, if you just slither away like hey, I don't even apologize, I just ignore them, and they go away. So I do remember I do remember an instance where a guy, this is on the short sale side of the business, telling me that if we solicited them or he was demanding that we prove to them something. I don't even remember what it was. And we give them this explanation and that explanation. And if he was going to report me to all those places that, that this person is apparently threatening to. And I just ignored him. And then a few days later, he pinged me again. He said he still hadn't received all the information. And if I didn't get it by a certain time, he was going to, to do it. And then I ignored him again. And 3 days later, he came back. He came back and said something again, and I simply replied, I said, do what you have to do. I owe you no explanation about anything. Good luck. And I never heard from him again.
There you go. And there's
when you just there's, if you're not doing anything wrong, you have nothing to worry about.
And I'll say this because she's in California. The monster's been around a long time. So if you don't believe that there haven't been brokers and people who've submitted the marketing piece up to the attorneys to look at, we've gone through this multiple times, and I've even had Diana call. And California is the biggest stickler on marketing of any state by far. The only other issue I had was once in Nevada, based on a mail piece that I used to recommend 7 years ago, that the letter said, and this is the shocking part, you'll like this, David. The letter said that you were authorized by the Department of Real Estate of Nevada to help homeowners with their loan modification. And they found that that was an egregious assumption. I said, who should help them? I don't even understand how they can fault that sentence. But that's the only other time I've ever seen a problem in any state whatsoever. And I get it. Everybody's making a dime somewhere. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. Let's see. What do I have up here? David Hero with a shameless endorsement. I just bought David's AMS program, and it's awesome. I highly recommend it.
Oh, very nice. Thank you,
How
David.
has the response been? I did a pretty heavy mailer on that to make sure everybody got to watch a good video last
Well,
week.
the response is, it's been keeping me busier than I want to be. Thank you very much. So,
Glad to see my email campaigns work.
but you know, it's my own fault. So the response has been good. We've had a number of people not wanting to wait till Pasadena to get all the information. So I sent out the preview email to them, and made them an offer they couldn't refuse, and that it's $997, and if you and when we close your first short sale, I'll give you your money back. So we had a number of people wanting to get started on the recorded version, and so hopefully we'll have their testimonials of success by the time they get to Pasadena, and go from there. So I'm excited I love the enthusiasm, and David already sent me a deal and had his seller call me, deal meaning a short sale, and had his seller call me, and who was kind of getting a little sideways, and we backed him off the ledge and made him feel 1,000 times better, and now we're off and running.
There you go. Also went to the house, and the listing agent is the homeowner. Would David want to talk to her? This is back from Janice. She also went to a house, and the listing agent is the homeowner. Would David want to talk to her?
The listing agent is the homeowner. Okay, so we have done that because the listing agent cannot list their own house, so they have to list it with somebody else. And so we have done that for them, even when they've been part of a big firm, because of our expertise, and because they don't really want any other agents in their office to know their business. So do I personally want to talk to them? I will, if that would help somebody, but not cold. So what I would recommend, I don't want to do the job that the whoever has posed that question should do. So I would attempt to make the first contact with them, and if they had questions or concern, or you needed a higher authority, which is where I make myself available to you, I would be happy to talk to her and explain why we should be assisting her with her short sale or not, and we can probably arrange to give her a referral fee. Don't promise that because I don't know all the details, but there's probably a way where we might be able to get them a little extra money over and above any seller relocation.
There you go. Luis Madrigal. This is Luis. I am new in the system. Please suggest the best way to answer in an appointment when the owner asks about the owner tax liability after the short sale of their property. So what are the tax implications these days on a short sale, David?
Well, they're the same. First of all, I don't know of a single client that we've worked with, whether or not it was direct or indirect, that's had a tax issue on a short sale. Okay, so there is a provision for liability, and generally speaking, when there's liability for a short sale, you don't get a short sale, because the only reason that you would have a tax issue with short sales is if you've got more assets than the loss, and if you have more assets than the loss, then the bank's they're going to foreclose on the house and take the money. They're not going to approve a short sale. So what I want to direct you guys to Google and just Google IRS insolvency clause. And basically the way that the insolvency clause works is that you'll get a 1099-C from the bank when you do a short sale. And that 1099-C will give you unearned income basically of, let's call it $50,000. Okay, so that's the loss that the bank took, is $50,000. This is the paper loss. They don't count their interest and everything they've collected over the years against that. So their paper loss is $50,000. So the only reason you would owe taxes on that is if you had assets of $50,001 or more. So if you have $49,000 in cash or equity among your other assets, maybe another house or so, then you are what we are considered insolvent. Because if you take the total amount of the loss and you subtract that from your assets, if that number is negative, you're technically insolvent, and you just file the appropriate form, which I have to look it up every time we recommend it. You file that form, and you should be free of taxes. Now, this happened to me when I short sold the house in 2009. We filled it out, or we didn't do the form because I used my girlfriend. I had no money, so I used my girlfriend, who was a CPA at the time. She did my taxes, and next thing you know, I got a notice from the IRS maybe 18 months later that I owed them $83,000.
Oof.
Okay, and because I never got or lost the 1099, so I didn't report it as income, but the IRS didn't lose it, and so when they consolidated or reconciled my return, they said that I owed taxes, so I had to hire an attorney, not an attorney, but another CPA. And we went down there and had an interview, and we refiled the form, and then we did an amended tax return, and my tax liability went from $83,000 where I owed them, and I ended up getting a refund for $30,000. That's how effective it was. It cost me $6,000 for the CPA. Best money I ever spent. Never had a return on investment like that anywhere else.
There you go.
But that form is very powerful like that, because I proved that I was insolvent on the date of closing, that I had less assets than the loss. So it was a big loss, like $178,000. So, which is why an $83,000 tax bill. So that's how it works, and it works every time.
Form 982.
There you go.
It's ingrained into my brain. Janice Legacy. If no response from the tags, do you go back with another tag in 3 weeks or so? Yes, I do. David, what's your turnover time?
We don't really have a turnover time. We found that retagging doesn't really get us much of a response. I mean, once in a while, so we just do it when we're in the neighborhood again. So, which we're working about 3 territories, which makes it about every 3 weeks. So we're not going out of our way to do it. And the only difference when we do the second tag is we say, second attempt. We write second attempt on top of the normal tag.
Jen Sims. It's a 2-part question. She's already left the room, so I will email her the second part. But the first part is, hey, Lee, please tell your audience, let your audience know that your system has made us much dollars. You are a godsend from the day I attended your SSG seminar. Thanks. There you go for all the new people. It works. Keep doing it. Benny Mosley. David, what is the cost for the short sale, and how has it changed?
The cost of the short sale?
Yeah.
So what we charge to process the short sale, I think, is the question?
I guess, yeah.
So the answer to that is 73% of the time it's free. We charge the bank 2%. So we figured out a lot, and this is the reason why we're in business and nowhere else. We say we're the largest short sale negotiation company in the world. That's because every other short sale negotiation company in the world went out of business because they didn't really figure out an effective way to get paid except for charging buyer, seller, or agent.
Right.
And we figured out early on, thank goodness, that we could get the bank to pay our fees, and that's become easier and easier as there are fewer and fewer short sales. So we get the bank to pay our fee 2%, which means we're getting 8% on almost every short sale. 2 for us, 3.5 to the listing side, and 2.5 to the buy side. So if you did that math, that's 8%. Now, if we can't get our fee from the bank, and the listing agent listed for 3.5 and offered 2.5, then we just take 25% of the listing agent commission. So that happens approximately 28% of the time. So we take 25% of the listing agent commission, which means in that scenario, the listing agent would make 2 5/8, the buyer's agent would make 2.5, and we would make 7/8. So because we make more than twice as much money by getting our fee paid, we work our butts off in order to get our fee paid. And one of the reasons, sometimes it takes a couple passes, but we get it done. So the short answer, 70%, 72% of the time, it costs the agent nothing. And 28% of the time, it'll be 25% or 7/8 against versus a 3.5% commission.
And for anyone anywhere in the country who's a part of this program or somehow watching or listening to this, how can they get a hold of you?
Well, I'd call 805-413-8000, 805-413-8000, and you can email me at david@homeloanadvocates.com.
He's the one on the upper left if you're looking at the screen, if you've never seen David before. And unbelievably enough, the one directly underneath him is his son. Good genetics, David. Good genetics.
Mm-hmm.
Christopher McCall, how often are you getting relocation funds, David?
Almost 100%. I don't know the number, but almost every time. Oh, let's just call it 90%. But that's just a guess because it's not 100%.
There you go.
Let me just point out, there's more than one way to get a seller funds, and one of the advantages of using a third-party company like us to negotiate the short sales is that I don't sign the arm's length affidavit. Just FYI, you can read into that what you want.
That's funny. Mark Doris with a couple of questions. Mark writes, David, do you use Root Excel for mapping? Have you found a better system that will accommodate more than 20 properties?
We do use Root Excel, and there are other service. I use Root Excel because it's free. I think they have a professional version that you pay for to do more than 20,
like $10 a month or something, I think.
Yeah, but the truth is, we don't do more than 20 at a time. We're doing 15 to 20. So that's the way that we do it.
There you go. And yes, I use professional Root Excel, Mark. The only other variation that I've heard on it is Marianne Schmelz, and she uses a Garmin, I think was what she said.
Yeah, she bought a Garmin for a couple $100, and you just upload it in there through a web service or through a USB. I don't remember, and it routes it for you. So what sounded good. I never looked into it, but I used to use Garmin before, cell phones had, navigation. So, and I love my Garmins. I love them. I thought I was cool with it, just like my brick phone back in the day.
Just to explain how I do it, Mark. So I get 2 lists from Diana. They're in layout order of fastest route, but she sends me and downloads an actual list. And because I'm an Apple user, I can't speak for Android people. I don't know your lives. I don't. But when you get an address on an Apple, on an iPhone, you can click on the address and it auto-populates your map program immediately. And that's the way I do it. I don't even, go to the trouble of printing anything out. I just want the list in order. I assume she makes the maps correctly. And I just click on the next address and it auto-populates my phone and I just keep going. Sometimes it feels that I am not going in the correct order, sometimes. So I generally like an overview map to make sure that I'm not clicking things out of order and things are numbered for me, because I can tell you all the mistakes of tagging, right? Not numbering your stops and cross-referencing your lists that you're putting them out. If you're putting a tag with the wrong name on the house, you're generally not going to get the response rate that you're looking for. I mean, those are just small details. Mark Doris, also, have you found a way to get the navigation info from Root Excel to your car? Oh, Nav, I guess I answered that question. That's the way I do it, Mark. If you're an iPhone user, I mean, I don't know any other simpler way to do it. Does Root Excel even have a app? I've never even gone to that much trouble because I've done the list version for so long. But give the list version a try. Just download a list, copy, cut, and paste, send the email to yourself, and then just click on each address. It's pretty straightforward. Janice Legacy, no mugs on the screen, just countdown of your event. There you go. I scrolled down so you can see David. He has a great photo.
Let's see. Let me check it out.
It's
Oh
your,
yeah.
that's a good one for you.
I'm taller, darker, and more handsome now, though.
You indeed
Married,
are.
married life has been good
You
to
have
me.
a glow. And I look exactly the same. That's a short sale genius photo, and I look exactly the same with the same scowl. Doug Ranger, when using Firefox with root XL, the addresses are not sent to my Galaxy Note 8. If I use Chrome, I can select it to go to my cell. You're speaking Android to two Apple people, Doug. I'm just telling you how it is. It's a great FYI, though. Thank you. How close to NOT? Oh, good question from Janice. How close to the notice of trustees date do you tag, David? I know my answer.
How close?
How close?
Well, I try not to go. I'll go up to the day. Okay, so first of all, I mean, but when I'm sorting my list, I'm looking at least 7 days out. So, but I will tag them sooner than that. Especially if they're in my way. I mean, I'll tag them.
There is no shame in the other room from the data department in my house, so she doesn't care. She'll send me out to tag everything. All appointments are all appointments in the world of Diana. It's just the way she rolls.
Right.
That's I can't here's the thing, you can't dispute when it works. If you're getting appointments doing whatever it is that you do, you just do it. You just keep going and you keep doing it. That's all the questions. You guys were pretty quick. Load up the questions. Feel free. I'll give you a little news note because I just posted it and nobody seems to care about it, but I'll ask your feedback, David. So Zillow, who I have often joked about and often made a news story on my own website, David, has now decided that it will place all its Zillow properties, like Zillow listed only, coming back through their pipeline. They're going to place all their listings first.
Well, why was anybody be surprised about that?
I'm not. I'm just surprised that Inman and Housing Wire think it's a bigger story than it actually is. But I'm not surprised. But I'm not surprised that they found investors to make offers. We foresaw this future a long time ago, and it was to build a platform where they could take all listings and get around the MLS and basically control and make a percentage off of real estate. So I don't know why everybody's always so up in arms every time Zillow does something that, from my perspective, it's a good business move.
Yeah, I mean, if I were Zillow, that's what I would do too. I mean, at the end of the day, you got to remember the way Zillow is doing it, though. You'd say, well, that's going to alienate agents. Well, it doesn't alienate the agents that are paying them to be premier agents, which is why they're doing that, because they're supposedly, and they're actually using their premier agents in order to handle the listings for them. So, and I don't know what what kind of deal you have to make with the devil in order to get that listing, but it's just another reason for you to pay big bucks to be part of their platform, which is at the end of the day, what they do. And this is just another profit center. They're like Open Door. Basically, we'll see. I mean, these iBuyer thing, this is not going away. This is something that we're going to have to contend with. You're going to see every major franchise offering this as well. So
yeah, and their marketing campaigns are all the same. As a marketing guy, I'm fascinated with it, which is get rid of antiquated real estate systems, get rid of realtors. I mean, that's always their angle. Cut out the 6%. We've spent time on that previously. What that really entails for somebody, but I get it. I mean, if I had iBuyers, I mean, you're looking at 75 to 80, depending on whose report you read, David. It's anywhere from 75 to 85% of buyers and sellers are starting online. So why not capture the audience? I mean, it's ridiculous if you don't. Janice Legacy, if there aren't more than 15 NODs within a 20-mile radius, would you go out a bit further? My answer is yes. I go to multiple cities. I don't have any shame in that. But David, what about you?
We try to stay local to our market and to our market area, but there's no go as far as you want.
Yeah. To answer that, to go into a little more detail, I'm doing a radio show for On the Screen, our friend Fred Solomon, and they're out in the Palm Springs area. And he wants me to find out stats for the area, foreclosure stats, which, by the way, it's really hard to find really good foreclosure stats. But there's a weird thing about the Palm Springs area. So if you're south of the 10 freeway, like Palm Springs, Cathedral City, foreclosure rate's about 1 in 3,000. If you go north of the 10 freeway, where you're talking Thousand Palms and other parts of Riverside, it jumps to 1 in 1,000. So it would seem logical from a data standpoint to go where there are more people in distress. That's just me. I mean, I'm just always looking for the deal, to answer the question, Janice. Let's see. Anybody else? Any other questions? Did you inherit a dog, David?
I did not.
That's the neighbor.
Yeah, I didn't even notice, but yeah, it's not here.
I'm just wondering. I thought that was an interesting addition to your life.
I totally blocked it out. I had no idea.
I get a gardener. You've got a dog. I mean, it all happens the same. Anybody else with any other questions? We'll take a quick moment to talk about the summit. We do it each and every year. Go to preo.org. So far, the lineup is pretty set. I mean, we get about a full day on Friday. David and Davis kick off your morning. As I said before, I really wanted a clear and concise kind of intro of working with distressed homeowners and understanding the difference between equity and not equity. So we've got Davis, who will start things off right after Fred does his introductions. And then David will do 90 minutes, 2 hours, plus or minus. I'm sure that in Davis's mind, he's probably got an hour. He's not a regular speaker, so we'll see how that goes. I think he's always been on time. I think he's done a full hour, David. I don't remember.
He'll do fine. I haven't even talked to him about it yet, so
I'm sure he'll do great. Do you know what you're talking about at the event?
Well, I think that everyone's going to want me to talk about conversion. That's my guess.
I would imagine. That seems to be the way it usually goes.
I mean, take a poll. What do they want me to talk about?
Second half of the day, right after the break, I'll get Robert up there as quick as humanly possible. And that's really about working with investors, and that applies to everybody. David and I have said it repeatedly. How do you not get both ends of the deal? How do you not work on getting opportunities to flip? It's a huge financial opportunity for you while you're helping people. I will speak. There will be a panel of some kind. I will probably focus on marketing. My obsession lately is on this value proposition and how to best convey that, no matter what it is. We'll focus on distressed property owners. I will try to focus in real estate in general. As I said before we started the call, I'm focusing more on consulting this year. I am literally shocked at how many business owners, both outside of real estate, thanks to Fred, I've been doing a lot of events and talking to just regular business owners of products and services. It's mind-boggling. You're a broker, David, and you really have a thriving business. How important is it to understand your value proposition and charging appropriately and conveying that message?
Well, all right. So with the slowdown, there's been some major shifts in the market. So the market was way down. And what happens is when you see that kind of tightness in the market that we've been experiencing that seemed to really take grip, September, October of last year, you see a lot of different business models. So we're seeing a lot of agents now offering 3.5%, 4%, 4.5%, where it's always been 5 or 6. We've seen the emergence of a lot more 1% brokers for the listing side. We've seen the emergence of a lot more buyer rebates in order to get buyers. So you're seeing a lot more competition among realtors and agencies in order to just survive, basically. And so in my business, I am not the less expensive. I'm a set fee model. So what I did is figure out what it really costs to sell a house and added a fair profit, and that's my fee. And so I have 3 fees: one for under 600, one for 600 to $1 million, and one for $1 million and above. And that model plays well to the consumer. And then but it's not enough to have savings. You also have to have expertise. They don't care how much they can save with you if you can't demonstrate your competence. If they have no competence or confidence in your competence, you're not going to get the deal. So you have to demonstrate, expertise, and you still have to have swagger. People want to pay less, but they still want the best, and they want the best results. So we rely heavily on KPI, which is key performance indicators. And so we track our data. We just learned that we are the #1 sales team in all of Ventura, so we tout that. We know statistically, and almost everybody should beat the MLS, I would think, that we sold our listings 55.7% faster than other days. That's easy to figure than other agents. That's easy to figure out because we know our average days on market is 39 days, and the MLS's average days on market is 70 days. We know that our listings sold for 8.71% more than other agents, and for us, the way that we did that was we did our percentage of sale price versus original list price versus the MLS's. So our percentage of sale to original list price is 100.64% versus the MLS's 91.92%. And then we also talk about savings. So we're telling the whole story. It takes almost 2 hours to do a full listing presentation, an hour and a half to 2 hours, depending on the kinds of questions. And you need that amount of time. If you're going in there and trying to get a listing presentation in 20, 30 minutes, good luck. But it's too important. You're interviewing for a job, and you need to ask for the business at the end of the day. But there are lots of ways to differentiate yourself. But the only way to really get they'll talk to you because you save them money, but they won't hire you just for that. They'll only hire you because you're competent, and you demonstrate that through what is effectively an interview at the listing presentation.
There you go. Margaret Burkett, did you say this was live streaming or recorded? In theory, it's live streaming. And I've said this before, because if this is your deciding factor for those of you that are local attending the event, it's 50-50 on whether it streams correctly. It is the library's internet. It has held up previously. We have streamed previously. It doesn't allow for interaction really, but yes, in theory, we'll be streaming the event. Janice Legacy, will you have a recording? Yes. I run around with a camera all day. That's generally why I don't spend hours and hours speaking or doing any of that stuff really anymore. I'm more the technology supervisor. I probably should be smart and just bring someone in to do all the tech, so it's less stressful on me. So I run around with multiple computers and multiple cameras trying to capture the event because we have a great lineup. We always do. Janice, again, David, if the house is an LLC or C Corp, do you still tag?
Sure, why not?
There you go. And that's all the questions. How simple is that?
Should I structure my answer a little?
You can. Nobody seems to be writing in answers. I wonder half the time.
A seller is a seller. I don't care what entity owns it.
There you go. Let's see. Where any of the new people, feel free to ask any questions you want. The forum is really yours for the next couple of minutes. David and I have more than enough. Well, David has more than enough to do. I don't really know what I do for a living, David. I'm still trying to figure it out. I suppose I should look at it like the 4-hour work week and go, yes, I've mastered it. But when you start to chase really big dollars, you should be working every minute of every day. I think Randy, I had that discussion once with Randy. I'm like, how hard is it to get up that hill? He goes, It's really hard. He goes, once you're up there, it's not so bad. But to get up the hill the first time when you want to change your dollar figure, you got to run. And for those of you who don't know Randy, he speaks at our events. He's possibly coming out to this event. I just don't know how many people are going to be here for Randy to come in and do the credit pitch. I may just turn it into a webinar before the event so you guys get the value. But for those of you who don't know Randy, David and I know him. He is one of the hardest working guys. And have you ever seen a man travel and go to that many places to hustle business?
I hope he's making a fortune, because that's a lot of time away from home and hearth.
It is unbelievable. And he seems to work in all of his son's football games, which is unbelievable as well. Any questions, people? I will give you the going once, going twice, go home sign. Don't think that I won't. I'll hit the recorder button because this is gone. Janice, if the property is non-owner, will you send a letter or question mark? No, I would tag it regular. Would you expand upon that, David?
Ask me the question again.
If the property is non-owner, you're talking about non-owner occupied. I don't have any properties on my list that are non-owner occupied. Do you guys tag or address non-owner occupied defaults at all,
Yeah.
David?
Yes, and then if I know it's non-owner occupied, then in advocate marketing system, we also do I'm also going back and trying to figure out what the mailing address is, and I might tag that house, and I might tag, and I send them a letter and phone calls or whatever I can do to reach them. I like non-owner occupied because most people don't know how to get to the owner, which means there's less competition, and less competition means higher conversion rates.
There you go. Barbara Frisbee, do you know someone who may want to ride with me from around the Riverside area to Pasadena? Actually, Barbara, that's not a crazy question. I would tell you to contact Fred Solomon and see if you can jump on a ride. I know they're coming in, and I know they're going out, and he's going to Palm Springs, so that might be a possibility. But I'll definitely float it out. Put it in the Facebook room. Janice, to get phone numbers, do you buy a service, David?
We use Intellius, and but you have to know that it's not highly effective. It just tells us it's like throwing a cast net. You don't really know what number is going to work. So I like it with slide dial, and so I just take all the numbers and put them in slide broadcast and record a message and send it to them. And I'm hoping to catch a relative or family member, and then I have a letter that I send to all related addresses. And then I also take whatever emails I can find, including immediate family, by the way, because I find that if we do immediate family, then they forward it to whoever's supposed to get it, and then we sometimes get a call, and then I have to do an email to all of them. So I try all three of those, but it's pretty hit and miss.
There you go.
But it's worth the try.
Yeah, certainly is. Janice, is a letter in the monster somewhere? No, it's we don't have one. David has one in the add-on program. What is the percent? Oh, that's a good question, David. Do you know the percentage of response to your letters or in those situations?
I don't track it. I don't really know, but we do get some response, and letters. Letters are easy. I don't know if they're responding to the letter, the email, or the slide dial. So we just shotgun it. I mean, it just doesn't take that long to do. It takes doing the whole thing is about 15 minutes to do everything. So, and I have somebody else do it, by the way.
There you go.
But yes. So I don't know what the percentage is, but it's enough for us to want to do it. And I do know that when we do get a hit, we have a high conversion rate, David, much higher than normal.
Janice, so there is about 5 services you have to pay a monthly fee for, right? 5?
I don't know. What are they?
I don't know if it's that many. I mean, Intellius is one of many companies.
And you don't have to have Intellius.
You don't.
No, and there are other ways to do it.
Certainly. As for Root XL, you can get by with the free system.
Yeah, we don't pay for that.
And Janice, the call center's definitely it. The tags are definitely it. No, that I don't think that
we have the call center, and Property Radar is the only monthly subscription that we have.
Yeah. And to be perfectly honest, if I could get my data from a title rep, I would have to run the data side by side. But since I'm in California and happen to have a realtor in my house, I can't do that at all. Nobody will touch that with a 10-foot pole. But I would love to get data for free. I mean, those states that actually have, on the East Coast, you guys are able to access that data for free through your MLS. That's amazing. Margaret Burkett. Property Radar does have some phone numbers included at some levels. I've never tested it. I've never tested those numbers, Margaret. Have you tried any of those numbers, David?
No.
Yeah. Janice, what is the advantage of Property Radar versus from MLS? Where are you located, Janice? And my answer would be, oh, you're in San Diego. You can't get the data from your MLS, Janice. That's the bottom line. So
well, you can get it after they're expired.
Yeah, you can.
You can get it the date that, I mean, you can get the addresses, but you're not going to get, well, first of all, we're talking about expired, not distressed, but you can get it there, but you're only getting the address. I use RedX for my expired and like the service very much. So, but that's a different campaign unrelated to Monster. I mean, I haven't figured out how to tag expireds. I mean, you could tag them, but I haven't figured out a process. The distressed property seems to be where we get the most effective results.
Again, because
but RedX is where I like my expired stuff.
There you go. This just in from the other room via text, David.
Yeah.
She's listening through the walls. She always does. She's everywhere. It's 50-50 on the Property Radar numbers. There you go. Glad I could input that info. Apparently she's tried it. Janice, you don't really have a choice. It's Property Radar or Realty Track, really, for San Diego. I don't see any other way around it. I mean, it's a RESPA violation.
Yeah, there are lots of there are lots of ways to do it. I mean, listen, you might get your title company. Here's just an idea. You might get your title company to buy it, to get their own subscription to Property Radar, and they give you your username and password. That's one way to do it. You know, it's not your account, it's their account, and you just have their username and password. That might be a way to do it.
Yeah, I'm not going to read that out loud, Janice, because I'm recording and it's in California. I just don't leave a paper trail. You're welcome. All right. In my opinion, when it comes to the data, okay, unless you're pulling it physically from the county, from whatever county service it comes from, and it varies from county to county how the data is collected, right? Unless you're pulling it from the actual source. I honestly, once that pipeline leaves, that data stream leaves, there are the data services that are online, and there's also the title companies that get their hands on that data. Now, how that's disseminated after it leaves public records, I couldn't tell you. So in my mind, if I look at it like a fire hose, right, and they're just people poking straws in it, what would the difference between Realty Track, Property Radar, a title company, right? There should be no difference, but there is. And I'll tell you why that is, because I'm a nerd, and I am a nerd. So because there are so many pieces of data attached to a single homeowner, right? If you look at the data on a spreadsheet, there are literally, 10 to 15 lines of individual pieces of data. Each one of those pieces of data, including whatever tracking number they use, can offset how the data flows in the pipeline. So there you go. That's a really long, nerdy coding explanation on why data is different. Realty Track's not as good in South Orange County as Property Radar is. The rest of the country, Realty Track has better data than Property Radar. I mean, it's just the way it is. David Haro, RedX has decent phone numbers. I call people who are out of state. Cool. That's great. Again, those are coming from public records, so I don't know how good or how old the data is. I mean, it just really comes down to it. Anybody else? We are at the top of the hour. Prereo.org. David, how do people get a hold of you?
805-413-8000, 805-413-8000, or David at homeloanadvocates.com. Advocates is plural, David at homeloanadvocates.com.